This lesson is Chapter 1, Lesson 5, Dividing Integers. Our essential question is the quotient of two integers positive, negative, or zero, and how can you tell? So dividing integers actually follows the same exact rules as multiplying integers. When you're dividing integers with the same sign, the quotient of the two integers with the same sign is always positive, which means a positive divided by a positive will always equal a positive, and a negative divided by a negative will always equal a positive. Same sign, always positive, just like with multiplication. Dividing integers with different signs. The quotient of two integers with different signs will always be negative, which means a positive divided by a negative will give me a negative, or a negative divided by a positive will also give me a negative answer. So same rules for division that we used for multiplication. So looking at example 1, let's apply those rules. In example 1, we're looking at two negative numbers. Therefore, our numbers have the same sign. So our answer, because they have the same sign, should be a positive answer. So I'm really thinking of 18 divided by 6 is 3. Since my signs are both negative, my answer is a positive 3. In example 2, we're looking at different signs. Positive 75 divided by negative 25, immediately I would write that it's going to be a negative answer because my signs are different. 25 can go into 75 3 times, therefore my answer is negative 3. In B, negative 54 divided by 6. My signs are different, therefore my answer is negative. 6 goes into 54 9 times, so we're looking at negative 9. Now if you need a review of division, remember it's the opposite of multiplication. So if you go back to check, negative 3 times negative 25, if we multiply them, a negative times a negative would yield me a positive 75. And here we would look at negative 9 times positive 6. A negative times a positive is a negative, therefore giving me negative 54. Remember, multiplication and division are inverse operations. So see if you can apply those rules on your own problems, reminding yourself that if the signs are the same, your answer should be positive, and if your signs are different, your answer should be negative. Pause the video, answer 1 through 6, then come back and check your answers. In number 1, a positive divided by a positive is going to give me a positive answer. 14 divided by 2 should have given you positive 7. Number 2, we've got a negative divided by a negative, so my signs are the same. My answer is going to be positive. 32 divided by 4 would be a positive 8. Therefore, negative 32 divided by negative 4 is also positive 8. Negative divided by a negative in number 3, my signs are the same. My answer is going to be positive, positive 5. 0 divided by negative 6. Whenever you take 0 and divide it by anything, your answer is always 0. Even though my signs are different, 0 doesn't have a positive or negative sign. 0 is like your neutral position. Number 5, we're looking at different signs. Negative 49 divided by 7. Signs are different. My answer should be negative. So 49 divided by 7, we've got negative 7. And in number 6, again, your signs are different. 21 divided by a negative 3. My answer should be negative. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Therefore, my answer is negative 7. All right, again, your division rules are the same as your multiplication rules. Same sign, your answer is positive. Different sign, your answer is negative. In example 3, we're evaluating an expression, which means we are going to substitute integers in for the variables. So in example 3, it says evaluate 10 minus x squared divided by y when x is an 8 and y is a negative 4. I'm going to rewrite the problem substituting those values in. 10 minus x is an 8, so we have 8 squared divided by y, and y is a negative 4, which I'm going to put in parentheses only so that my division and my negative sign are not right next to each other. I now want to think to myself, I've got more than one operation here, which means I need to follow my order of operations. So to remind ourselves of our order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We've got parentheses, exponents, multiplication, put the dot for multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So if I'm looking there, these parentheses are only here so that my sign's not next to my division sign. These parentheses don't come from our order of operations because there's no operation within that parentheses. There's just an integer within it. So we don't have to do the P. So we're going to go right to E. E would be my exponent. So here I'm looking at 10 minus 8 times 8. Remember, an exponent tells you how many times you want to multiply your base by itself. Still divided by negative 4. So 8 times 8 is 64. So we now have 10 minus 64 divided by negative 4. All right, I got rid of my exponent. I now have subtraction and division. What comes first in my order of operations? I see division comes before subtraction. So now we need to divide. So when I look at this, I see negative 64 divided by negative 4. So I want to follow my integer rules. Negative divided by negative. My signs are the same. Therefore, I should have a positive answer. So I would now have 10, negative 64 divided by negative 4 would give me a positive 16. So I'm now looking at 10 plus 16. And lastly, 10 plus 16 is going to give me a positive 26 as my answer. So when we are evaluating expressions, not only are we substituting values in for the variables, we're replacing them, we are then following our order of operations. So see if you can apply that to the on your own problems, number 7, 8, and 9. Make sure you replace A with negative 18 and B with a negative 6. Follow your order of operations, solve the problems, pause the video, and come back and check your answers. Number 7, I'm going to substitute in negative 18 for A. So A is negative 18. Divided by B, and B is a negative 6. So negative 18 divided by negative 6. My signs are the same, therefore my answer is positive. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Negative 18 divided by negative 6 is also 3. Number 8, I'm going to replace A with negative 18. So negative 18 plus 6 divided by 3. Now when a problem is written like this, you need to simplify your numerator and simplify your denominator, and then in the end you can do the division that is there by that fraction bar. So I need to simplify the top, negative 18 plus 6. So looking at negative 18 plus 6, I see that my signs are different. And remember, with addition, when your signs are different, you really find the difference of the numbers. You subtract those numbers. 18 minus 6 is 12. And then we talk about the absolute value, taking the sign of the higher absolute value. The absolute value of negative 18 is positive 18, and the absolute value of 6 is 6. That's how far away from 0 they are. Since 18 is greater than 6, we take the sign of that 18, which is a negative 18. So we're left with negative 12 divided by positive 3. Back to my division rules. I'm now looking at a negative divided by a positive. My signs are different. Therefore, my answer is going to be a negative answer. And write that negative sign. And 12 divided by 3 is 4, therefore giving me a final answer of negative 4. In number 9, I'm replacing B with a negative 6. In number 9, we're replacing B with a negative 6. Now, if I look, it says B squared. So they want me to square the entire B. They want me to square negative 6. So in order for me to square negative 6, when I plug it in, I'm going to put it inside parentheses to remind myself that I'm taking that -6 and squaring it. I'm not doing the opposite of b squared. I'm actually squaring that b. And since that b is a negative, I'm going to square that entire -6. So I'm putting it in parentheses because remember there's a difference between this guy and this guy. This guy's asking me to do the opposite of -6 squared, so that would give me a -36. Whereas this guy's asking me to square the entire -6. -6 times -6 is a +36. Right? We learned that the other day when we were doing multiplication rules. So I'm going to rewrite my b inside parentheses to remind myself that I'm squaring the entire b. Then I'm dividing it by a, which is a -18. And then once I have all that done, I'm going to add 4 on. So -6 squared, -6 times -6 is a +36 divided by a -18 plus 4. 36 divided by -18, I got to do my division before I can add my 4 on. A positive divided by a negative leaves me with a -2 plus 4. My signs are different, which means I'm finding the difference. 4 minus 2 is 2. I'm then going to look at my absolute value of my numbers. The absolute value of -2 is 2. The absolute value of 4 is 4. Since 4 is greater than 2, we take the sign of the 4, which was positive. So your answer should be +2 in number 9. And example 4. You measure the height of the tide using the support beams of a pier. Your measurements are shown in the picture. What is the mean hourly change in the height? So let's review what we mean by the mean. When you're finding the mean of something, you're averaging it out. Right? So they actually give you what they want you to do to find that mean hourly change. So to find it, they want you to take the final height minus the initial height divided by your elapsed time. And elapsed time just means how much hours went by. So it looks like at 2 p.m. you had 59 inches, and at 8 p.m. you have 8 inches. So my final height would be 8. That's what it ended. 8 p.m. is later than 2 p.m. So my final height, I'm going to substitute in 8, minus my initial height of 59, divided by the elapsed time. How many hours went by from 2 p.m. to 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.? So if I subtract that, 8 minus 2, that means 6 hours has passed. So 6 hours is my elapsed time. So this is review of subtraction of integer rules. Remember, with subtraction of integer rules, we do keep, change, opposite. Remember that. So 8 is my keep. I change from subtraction to addition. The opposite of +59 would be -59. I'm now looking at my addition rules. Are my signs the same or are they different? If they're the same, I add them and keep the sign. If they're different, I subtract and take the sign of the higher absolute value. So here I can see that my signs are different. I have a positive plus a negative, which means I'm actually going to subtract 59 minus 8, leave me with 51. And then check for my absolute values. The absolute value of 8 is 8. The absolute value of -59 is 59. Since 59 is greater than 8, I'm going to take the sign of the 59, which I can see here is negative. So my answer is -51 over 6. We're going to average that out by dividing. A fraction bar always means to divide. I'm following my division rules. A negative divided by a positive always gives me a negative. And 51 divided by 6 would be 8.5. So I have -8.5 or -8 5/10. See if you can do the on your own problem now by yourself. Pause the video and come back and check your answer. Height of the tide at the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick, decreases 36 feet in 6 hours. What is the mean hourly change in the height? So it's telling us that it decreases 36 feet. So you have to think about what integer would represent a decrease of 36. When something goes down, that is a negative. So we already know this part. They gave it to us. Right? It decreased by 36 over an elapsed time of 6 hours. So to average that out, I've got a negative divided by a positive. My answer is negative. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Your answer is negative 6 feet would be your hourly change in your height.